Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Emily Truman. I serve as the 2026 Chair of the Gates County Board of Commissioners. I'm joined tonight by Vice Chair Nathan Berryman, Commissioner Jonathan Craddock, Commissioner Brian Roundtree, Commissioner Dave Forsythe, County Manager Scott Sauer, County Attorney Thomas Wood, and Clerk to the Board Renee Draper. I'm going to ask if Commissioner Craddock will lead us in the invocation and pledge.
Let us pray. Father God, we come to you first of all tonight. Give you thanks. Thank you for this day that you have made, and let us rejoice and be glad in it. Father God, we come to you tonight, ask you to settle down. Give us grace, mercy, and wisdom as we conduct business for our constituents. We ask these things in your name, in the name above all names, Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, sir. So we'll move into the approval of the agenda. Are there any amendments to the agenda? And if not, we'll entertain a motion to approve as presented.
So moved.
So second.
All in favor? That is unanimous. All right, thank you all. And we will move down into the consent agenda now. Are there any amendments or clarifications for the items listed on the consent agenda? And if not, can we get a motion to approve?
Madam Chair, so move.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? Again, that is unanimous. All right, moving right along, we're going to ask Mr. Warren Perry if he can come forward and present the new hires for Gates County.
Good evening, Commissioners, Madam Chair, County Manager Scott Sauer, and Attorney Thomas Wood. To my far left, I have Jennifer Nolly. She's from Ewer. She was hired in April as a tax specialist 1. Ms. Nolly grew up in Hawaii and had previous work experience at Aloha Air Cargo in Honolulu, and afterwards as a passport support specialist. So she knows about paperwork. To my immediate left is Phyllis Parker of Gates. Ms. Parker started at DSS as a social worker in Hertford County in the year 2000, transferred to Gates County DSS in 2002, was a social worker supervisor since 2014, and was promoted to director of DSS last month. So please join me in welcoming Ms. Nolly and congratulating Ms. Parker on her recent achievement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
All right, thank you all. Okay, so move down into the Sheriff's Office update. Sheriff Campbell has an update for the board.
Good evening. I told Madam Chair I just had one thing to go over, and you've heard me stand up here and talk about inmates before. So far, we're doing well with housing inmates. Big thanks go out to Northampton County and Sheriff Jack Smith, because he's been a godsend to us. Albemarle District Jail, we've never had an issue with him, always taking our inmates, and we had a wonderful working relationship with them. But being Chowan County Jail is shut down now, and their inmates transferred to Albemarle District Jail. Bed spaces is tight. So hopefully down the road, we'll be able to get back a few. They've promised me bed space for females, but right now, Sheriff Jack Smith says if you got them, bring them. So we don't have a lot of inmates. I think somewhere in the neighborhood of about a dozen. A couple of those are waiting to go to DOC. So we're in pretty good shape. We've been in a lot worse shape than we are right now, but Northampton County, big shout out to those guys. So thank you. And on that note, we're going to feed their jail staff pizza next week. So thank them.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
All right. Next on, we have special presentations. We have a special presentation today from Integrated Family Services. We'd like to invite Mr. Keith Ham, Miss Emma Nixon, and I don't see Miss Marie Anderson. Okay, so Mr. Ham and Miss Nixon to the podium to report on their mobile crisis services.
Thank you.
And so, thank you.
All right, so first of all, thank you so much for giving us a few moments. I promise to not take more than an hour and a half with this presentation.
We'll take intermission about halfway.
Okay. How about 15 minutes?
There you go.
So yes, this is Miss Emma Nixon. She is a supervisor with Mobile Crisis Services. Miss Marie could not make it, but she is actually the Mobile Crisis Supervisor for Gates County, Northampton, Bertie, Hertford, and a couple of others. So have you, let me ask, heard of Mobile Crisis Services in Gates County?
Yeah.
Not in Gates County, I've heard of it.
Okay, all right. I'll be very brief. As a matter of fact, I want to tell you what we passed out is some of our Mobile Crisis rack cards. I gave you a handful. I also gave you one of my business cards. You can reach me. That's a direct number that you can reach me. If you ever need more cards, you want some more information, you want to connect me with a group in the county that I can share with them our services, I'll be happy to do so. And on the back of that card, there's a QR code. If you hit that QR code, our company spared no expense in hiring an extraordinarily handsome bald man to do a video. Some of you will catch it later. On Mobile Crisis Services. So if you want to tell somebody about it, you say, I can't remember the details, then all they have to do is hit that QR code. I'd like to share with you the power of Mobile Crisis Services for the residents of this county, because every one of those counties you see in light blue, we provide Mobile Crisis Services in those counties. Integrated Family Services does. Now, all 100 counties in North Carolina have Mobile Crisis, but we do it in these 34 counties. So roughly a third of the state, we provide those services. We are the only provider of Mobile Crisis Services that are endorsed by Trillium Health Resources in 16 northeastern counties, which is obviously including Gates. So if I could tell you a story that will illustrate Mobile Crisis, because we always remember the preacher's illustrations, but we rarely remember the points. Would you agree? Nobody wants to bite on that, right?
This is recorded and live. We can't make those admissions.
So a few years ago, actually during COVID, my wife was in line at Verizon Wireless. I live in Chowan County in Edenton. And so at the time we were social distancing. She was outside. It was January. It was freezing. I hate to bring those bad days up, but that's what was going on. And she heard this couple behind her, an older couple. They were talking about their adult son who lives with a mental health diagnosis. And in their words, as they talked back and forth, they were saying, do you know if he went to his last psychiatrist appointment? I don't know. Is he taking his medication? I don't know. But he's in trouble because he's acting like he's not taking his medication. So my wife turned around and she said, excuse me, I didn't mean to eavesdrop, which is really not the truth because my wife is very nosy. And that is being recorded?
It is. It is. Hopefully she doesn't tune in tonight.
No, she won't. I couldn't help but overhear your conversation, and this is beautiful. She said, my husband works for a company that will send a qualified mental health professional to your son 24/7, 365, and there'll be no cost to him. And they will complete an assessment and help link him with the services he needs to get better. Isn't that amazing? I mean, that's the best thing since doorknobs. So she said, would you like the number? And they said, of course, absolutely. And so we were able to help. We do need the consent of that person that we're going to see because we can't just show up at someone's house. But there's this saying that we have in Eastern North Carolina, there's more than one way to skin a cat. So if that mother had gone home for her adult son, called us, we would have said, will your son consent to our services? If son said no, our call center specialists are trained. Ma'am, are you in crisis? Let me ask you, is she in crisis when her adult son is in crisis and lives with her?
Yes.
Absolutely. Then we can come out for you. Personally, I've been in mobile crisis for 17 years. I've gone on hundreds of crisis calls, and I've gone on many crisis calls where that's the scenario, and the same thing happens every time. Once I arrive and they find out that I'm just a relatively normal person, there to help, they'll open up and consent to our services, and that's what happened. So we can try to find ways to go in. There's something that distinguishes Integrated Family Services mobile crisis from other providers in the state, and that is if law enforcement requests us to send one of our workers to a location, we will go and we won't even ask for the consent of the individual. Because 99% of the time, if law enforcement is on the scene and they say something to an individual like, will you talk to somebody from mental health? They're going to say no. So we made a policy that we will always respond to law enforcement, to magistrates, to EMS. We'll always send someone, because even if that person doesn't accept our services, we can still get a picture of what's going on and try to assist law enforcement, magistrates, or EMS with what next steps should be. Personally, I've responded dozens of times under those scenarios, and I've yet to, again, have anyone deny our services. Once I show up and they see that, this person is here to help, they consent and we're able to assist. So you see, there's no cost to the individuals we serve, and this is important for you to know. No cost to them, but it's not a free service. It's a service that's called insurance blind. So if a person has Medicaid, Medicare, private insurance, or no insurance whatsoever, we are able to either bill the entities or we are funded by the state for those who are uninsured. Now, lest you think we're a burden on the taxpayers, I want to point out to you that if you go to any NC legislator and ask, is mobile crisis a burden to the taxpayers of North Carolina? They'll say, no, it's a tax-saving service. And here's why. Because we, personally, with Integrated Family Services, we divert over 85% of the people we see from unnecessary hospitalizations and incarcerations. Now, if people are sent and they're uninsured or they have Medicaid and they're sent to a behavioral health hospital, tax dollars foot the bill. If they're incarcerated, tax dollars foot the bill. But we divert people from those unnecessary hospital stays and incarcerations. And so we are actually a tax saving. Millions of dollars a year across the entire state, mobile crisis is able to save. That's my spiel.
All right.
Any questions for me?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
No, I ask them all the time, go ahead.
Yes, I have a question concerning your funding. Do you receive funding from the Executive Order 33 that Governor Josh Stein implemented, which improves our health care services in the area of behavioral health and the criminal justice system? Are some of those funds directed from that initiative?
I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure if they're from that particular initiative or not. But I know that we are funded through, if a person has Medicaid, we're funded from Medicaid. And then there is state funding. I don't know what the letters stand for, but it's IPRS. And that is funding for individuals at minimum with mental health issues who are uninsured. Yeah.
So my question is, I see your map here, it's really cool. Where y'all respond from? For instance, if our Sheriff Campbell called, where would y'all be responding from? I worry about like response times.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a great question because we do live in a lot of rural counties, and so response times is always first and foremost in our minds. So for example, in Gates County, we're probably looking at less than an hour response time. Because we've got people who live in Northampton, we have people who live in Hertford County.
Okay.
And so we don't at this time have anybody in Gates, but we're coming from some pretty
I got
close
you.
areas.
Within an hour is pretty darn good,
Yeah.
considering
Yeah.
this big an area. Yeah.
And a huge
Yes,
improvement from what
yeah.
it used to be, because I know when I first started with 911 dispatch, there was ones where we had a call at 7, 8 o'clock at night, and it was 8, 9 o'clock the next morning before air came out, so that's definitely improved time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have one more question. You mentioned that you're under the Trillium Health Service umbrella, and I know that this is a mobile crisis where it go on site. In conjunction, do you work with Trillium with the automated program where the person that's receiving the services could also use their computer and you can access that through a provider to come on site?
Like telehealth, you mean?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. So prior to COVID, 99% of our responses with mobile crisis were face-to-face. But COVID changed our culture a bit. And so now it's probably 70 to 75% of our calls are face-to-face, but there are a lot of people who choose to do it through telehealth because they don't want us to come into their home. And there are times that, like with anything else, we may be stretched thin, and if the acuity is low, we could ask the client, are you willing to do telehealth? Yeah. Now, if they're not, we'll make arrangements for face-to-face, but if they are, it facilitates, makes things a little bit more quick for them. Yeah,
Thank you so much.
you bet.
So if somebody dials the suicide hotline, does that somehow connect to you guys or referral to y'all?
If they dial 988,
Yep.
which we encourage people to do, then they will complete an assessment to determine if the acuity level is high enough to refer to mobile crisis.
Right.
And yes, we are linked with them for them to be able to do what's called a warm transfer.
Okay. All right, one more question. You're funded by the state, so what agency regulates the work y'all do or funnels you the funding or anything else?
It is Trillium Health
So
Resources.
directly from Trillium, not
Yes.
through any other state
No.
agency? Okay, all right.
Yeah. So any good talk requires me to give a call for action. And so I want to ask a favor. I believe that at this point, you probably agree that this is an amazing service for the residents of Gates County. But here's what I'd like for you to help me do. Help me to get the word out, because I would guarantee you that the majority of the people who live in this county have no idea that this service is available to them. So I can come in and do as little as a 15-minute presentation like I did tonight. I can do a full presentation. I can go to Lions Club or the Rotary, to churches, to any type of civic groups, organizations. If you'll help me, you've got my card, and you are welcome to pass that number along and that email address, or reach out to me and just say, hey, can you give this person a call? They're expecting you. And I'll be happy to make arrangements to come out and help get the word out in Gates County.
Post this online.
Awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
Very
We'll get it
good.
posted on our
Great.
website too.
Excellent. Thank you. I
You saw a new
appreciate that.
social services director just got recognized. Are you going to plug in with them
Yes.
automatically? Okay.
Yeah. Yes, that did not escape my notice.
Yeah,
So, perfect. Thank you.
All right, thank y'all. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Thanks very much.
All right. All right, we are moving into public comments. It's North Carolina Department of Transportation, State Transportation Improvement Plan. Do we, what is, no sign up? Okay, so we will move along from that and into the agenda-only public comments. I'm sorry. Okay, we're going to go down to Mr. Sauer then, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll jump into the state safety,
We're not
or
at-
state transportation improvement plan.
Gotcha.
Our colleague, Mr. Ethan Summers, has been a big asset for Gates County, and he represents the Albemarle Commission and the Department of Transportation, and they are at the decision-making process, and they're asking counties to prioritize the available projects. Vice Chairman Berryman serves on one of their committees. I don't know if you have a particular thought. The checks that you see in the boxes are my notes based on a conversation with Ethan about the strategy, being that there's only $100 million available in our section of the state. And to go after one of these projects like that bottom one, I think would be a little bit of a reach for us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the the most important thing to do is for us to come up with a number one item.
Yeah.
And that's the one that I've listed for the roundabout at 158 and Acorn Hill Road.
Yeah, and so our board meeting is the 19th of August, so we'll have a little bit more discussion probably in that as well as it comes to this. But Ethan has done a very good job for this whole region in procuring some funds from the state through DOT to continue to improve our highways around the whole entire region, and specifically here to Gates County. He's been trying to lobby for us pretty well, so big kudos to him.
Yeah.
At our last monthly meeting, our commission, Ethan presented this, we had some discussion, and I'll say several of the commissioners in other counties were upset that, that Route 17, when it even made some disparaging comments about our Gates County project. They're upset, and if you notice, this sheet shows that it's not just engineering. The roundabout at Acorn Hill Road or whatever, that's fully funding doing that project. That cost is what I understood, that it's not a matter of just going to do the engineering work. The rest of these, I think, is doing the initial engineering. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So we would get our full project.
Yeah.
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 I think that's why one of the reasons that Mr. Sauer was saying that should probably be number one. Yeah, I would agree to that.
And if the board would entertain an action item, I would like to ask you all to approve the priorities as presented, unless you'd like to amend any of those. So we have a record of Gates County's position, and we can share that with the Albemarle Commission.
The only thing I would say is I think the Route 17 corridor is higher to me than for my interest in the widening of the Weldon, I guess it is it Tar Heel area
Yeah.
bypass.
Yep.
That'd be the only thing. I agree with you on 1 and 2, but I think 3 and 4 reverse from my perspective. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, but this is just for that $100 million.
I know.
So, I mean, that
It wouldn't get
that's
funded
valued
anyway.
at
So the 4 is
180.
kind of out, so,
Right.
yeah.
So I
I would
so
agree.
moved as presented.
Yeah.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? Not all in favor? All right, that is all
Thank
unanimous.
you.
Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, we can do that. And now, since we have more information on that, do we have any comments in relation to those projects? No? Okay. All right, so now we will move down. I apologize for skipping that earlier. We'll move down into our public comment period for agenda-only items. And we do not have anyone signed up for that, so we are moving right along tonight. It's been a busy day. I have 0 complaints about that. All right, so old business. Item A, we have Gates County School Board Consolidation Funding Second Request. So the board received a request for funding from the school board. I'm going to ask Manager Sauer if he can update the board on the item before discussion.
As the board will recall, the adopted budget for fiscal year 26-27 includes an appropriation of $225,000 to assist with the consolidation, and it was approved as a contingency line item, being that funds would not be dispersed or expended until decisions were made by this body to allow that. And we've been asked by the Board of Education to consider releasing $225,000, the amount requested, and they have provided a chart of where the money is designated to be spent, and I think we have the chairman and Mr. Hale here in case there are any specific questions about their plan of action.
No, just to point out that 225, I want to clarify though, it's for the parking lot and freezer, the teacher stipends, and the staff and moving equipment, additional staff for moving equipment would be the 225 off of this chart.
What will there?
It would be, and correct me if I'm wrong, the 10,000 for the teacher stipends, the 200,000 for the parking lot and freezer, and then the additional staff and moving equipment would total the 225, is that correct? Is that, because there were multiple, I mean, the items listed are the 325, 600, so I just wanted to clarify what the 225 specifically was for.
Can we talk a little bit, I just want to make sure I understand, I'm not trying to be difficult, I really want to understand the parking lot and freezer. The freezer seems like this is the first time I've
If
seen this one.
we could have somebody come to the podium so that it can be,
Yeah, actually, I asked the same question earlier on, and so, yeah, they got it all broken down. The freezer is for, one of the schools, the freezer wasn't big enough for the
Okay.
district.
I think
students.
Gatesville, yeah.
And so they had to
okay,
add-
yeah.
Okay, that makes a little more sense. Yeah, I was just saying about the freezer cost,
Okay.
and it's,
The freezer, the additional freezer space we would need at Gatesville to
Okay,
accommodate
I
the
got
extra kids that would be there for lunch.
right,
We're getting quotes on that now. As you know, we have freezers at the maintenance department. That's where we store the bulk of the equipment. So we can be able to still start school without the additional freezer space, but we want the additional freezer space.
got it. And just for the record, for people watching
yeah,
that
you're
are
fine.
concerned, so it's not a case of where Buckland's freezers are great, our recent tour there, the existing freezer there is about to collapse. Mr. Green deserves kudos for keeping that thing running, so that would have been a collapsed deal.
If we remove
So we
that, it
likely
will
would have
not-
spent money for freezers anyway without the
Yeah.
closure, so.
And I think we have a good plan to leave the freezers at Buckland because it's some current use that we could use for there.
Right.
So that we
Right.
would not want to snatch that out, put it in another place and have to replace it again.
That's right. But then the parking lot part of that segment is the T.S. Cooper,
T.S. Cooper and
Yes.
Gatesville, that's the extension of the pickup and drop-off lines.
Right.
There's going to be more traffic, and the biggest thing we want to do is make sure our traffic is off the roads, and there's enough space where parents can line up, especially in the pickup line. Drop-off's usually not too bad in the morning.
Right.
But we don't want our cars on the road. The sheriff would be concerned about that, so we're extending, paving, and we've come up with a new cycle in Gatesville and T.S. Cooper, so it's an extension of that.
Okay.
okay, last time, I just,
Yeah, no,
since
you're
we
fine.
got him up here, I get to be the first one to say, I want to give kudos after visiting all the hard work that's going on with the staff, the young helpers, Mr. Green and his folks. It's pretty impressive, all the stuff that's been run through real quickly. I mean, there's still work to do, clearly, but these guys deserve a big kudo for all the work going on. I appreciate y'all guys being such an open book about it, too.
They've done a great job,
We
they really
agree.
have. They have one more week left. There were 3 teenagers that all attended Gates County High School that did summer employment 4 hours a day. And they were the backs of the move, if you know what I'm saying. They're the ones that lifted all the heavy stuff. And, now, like I said, I think next Thursday's their last day, and we're planning a little something for them just to show our appreciation for them. And they'll go back to high school with a lot of knowledge and a lot of skill, and probably a lot of experiences of always knowing what they did this summer.
Yeah.
Good work out.
All right, well, thank
Cool,
you.
thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of the things you don't really think about when you do a school consolidation is
The-
parking lots got to be bigger,
Yeah.
pickup lines, and so, yeah.
All right, so is there any more discussion needed on that on that line item, or can we make a motion to,
So is this a
Move
budget
forward.
transfer, or it's,
Or release of the funds.
oh, yeah, I'll make a motion.
Because we'll be then writing a check to the
Okay.
Board of
I'll
Education.
second that motion.
Yeah.
all right, any further discussion? All right, all in favor? That is unanimous, thank you all. So we'll move down to item B, which is Buckland Elementary School campus use. Last week, members of the board had a walkthrough of Buckland Elementary School campus. We're about to open the floor for public discussion based off of that walkthrough. I'm going to kick it off on just where my head went through. It does have good amount of space. It's a good building. We all knew that. The problem wasn't the building being a nice building. It was just consolidation was necessary for students and for expenses going forward. I know some of my initial thoughts when we walked in were we have various offices between the county and Board of Education that could be relocated to the Buckland School campus and would allow us to surplus some of the buildings that we have. And in my personal opinion, if we're talking about unloading continual expenses, talking about electricity and all that, keeping keeping buildings open, consolidating what we can down to one building and surplusing the buildings that we no longer need would be a direction that I would be interested in us pursuing. But we're going to open it up to everybody to kind of share what their different ideas are. Like I said, we had the tour, but we have not had this formal discussion. So who wants to take it?
I'm always willing.
You guys throw them in.
Okay.
So this goes along with, I guess, if not public knowledge necessarily, but discussion about long-term use, long-term schools and all. And to me, this comes in again to the idea that we, before we just start shuffling cards around, we really need to do an assessment. And again, I know that Mr. Hale's done this for the government as well as I have, where you go in, you assess what your space needs are, what your needs are as far as how much space you need. And then you look at the existing space you have and figure out the best way to use it. And I'd hate for us to just suddenly say, okay, kick the doors open, let the first group run in there, and then try to close another one. It's a little, to me, it's a helter-skelter way to approach it. And so, I mean, I would advocate that we really need to look at the big picture of our schools and all, support, us and the school board coming together with having a consultant go through and really, truly assess and come up
Yeah.
with a long-term facilities plan.
And if I may, we're
think-
not making decisions tonight. This is us throwing our ideas out there for the first time. We are very much at the beginning of this process. So go
Right.
ahead, okay.
So I guess that's my point is I don't want to see is I think it's great we're
Yeah,
having
yeah.
the discussion.
Just ideas.
But I think before we get going and start making quick, fast
Right.
decisions and you get a lot of opinions, have somebody really assess that, we have 22 people in the central office and they need this much space.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they don't have it now. Or we have some other functions, somebody mentioned an alternative school at some point. How much space do you need to do that? And look at what we have and the conditions of the buildings we have. Rate them out. The community center, if we replace it with a new community center, maybe that building's worthwhile. Maybe it's not, depending on how much money you take to renovate it. Maybe that's not an appropriate use for
Right.
something. In the existing central office, maybe Buckland School portions of it are nice. That annex is super nice and very good. I'd hate to see that torn down. The cafeteria, the freezer, all that stuff is very good stuff. But then other parts of the building are not necessarily in the greatest of shape or conducive to being office facilities and things. So I'd just like for us to get together in a comprehensive manner, everything we want to do. And then even, what are we going to do with schools? Where are our schools going to be placed? We looked at this long-term roadmap, right?
Right.
If they widen 158 at some point, even if it's 10 years from now, and they widen 158 to 4 lanes all the way through Gates County, all the way through to, Morgan's Corner, what are we going to be doing along that corridor where our current high school is, So I'm just advocating. So that's just my piece. I'll give somebody else a chance
No,
to.
we got it. Commissioner Roundtree?
Yes, it was a great tour. I want to thank Mr. Green for facilitating that. And also, I agree, Buckland School is a well-structured, sound building. It's well-built, well-maintained. It's going to be a great opportunity for whatever use we decide to go. I know the Board of Commissioners and the Board of Education is going to be instrumental in exactly what goes there, but I believe that also the citizens should have a part, because Buckland have a lot of history, like historical high school originally, and now, well, once previously primary school. I think that should be maintained, even though the building may be used for other operations. It should have something in there signifying its history, because history is so important to all of us. And like Commissioner Forsythe said, assessment must be done. You just can't do anything haphazardly. You got to make sure that we address the needs, make sure it accommodates, and make sure it's functional. So that's essential. But I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward potentially maybe gyms being there, potentially office space for our central office. And here's something I throw out. We have people in the community that are entrepreneurs. It may be an opportunity for them to, have their office there. I guess it's limited. I mean, it's unlimited, the ideas that we have,
Right.
the Board of Education have, and our citizens have. So I'm looking forward to us utilizing and that facility at the maximum.
Yeah, that's great. We'll move down the line here.
Yeah, I think you'll see that the board is pretty much in lockstep with that. And you want to keep right on going down with this. And as far as, the school board's also right there with where we're at, and we're working together to figure out what's the best use for this building for the community. I do agree with my fellow commissioners is that we need to make sure that a full assessment is done for what is the community's needs and use that. I would also agree is that we have to make sure that the heritage that's in that building is preserved and maybe an area can be set aside for that. So look forward to all the conversations. I think we've all been anxious, chomping at the bit to start this discussion, but we had to get through our budgeting first, and the school board had to get through their budgeting, and so They're on the backside of that, we're on the backside of it, so now it's time to start that discussion.
Yeah.
And I think we've already had some preliminary talks about forming a board made up of 2 of the members of each board and discussing it, and you know, we can have those community meetings and all that kind of good stuff to be able to get good input from everybody and what needs to be done. I'm going to continue to push for Jim's to move out of the elections office and into the cafeteria over there. That will be just an excellent use for that, and my view is sooner rather than later, and,
Yeah.
and maybe that's the first thing that we can do.
Yeah.
But I do agree, we do not need to jump in this wholeheartedly with,
Right.
and without reason and do something too quick and come back and have to unwind that. That's not where we want to be. And so I do look forward to the discussion over the next few months. Sure do. So, thank you.
Yeah, I agree with everything everybody's just said. Mr. Forsythe's correct. We've got to plan this out well. I was not able to make the tour, but I've walked them halls many times. It's been a little while ago, but I can still picture how it's laid out. I'm sure there's a few things that's been changed.
It's a little different than when we were there.
And, but correct, 100% gyms. The annex where it's at now, we need more room. Gyms needs more room. There's a cafeteria. The freezers are still there. That's one of the things that gyms had talked about one time, is having a freezer where they could have that option, you know. So I think that's a great thing. Thing that came to my mind, we have a cafeteria, we have freezers. It'd be a good weather shelter, somewhere we could shelter people during a hurricane or a storm, well-built brick building, you know. We talked about food banks before, you know, having somewhere that the people in gyms could run it or whatever, and have somewhere you could walk in for a food pantry, you know, where people could actually shop. What does that all say? It's a huge building. It's a good building. So I'm seeing a multi-use facility.
Multi-use for sure.
You know, so,
Yeah.
but it's all going to take planning, and I agree wholeheartedly, we cannot lose the history of that building.
I agree. Yeah.
That's what makes Gates County is the history, what's happened here, and we cannot lose that. So I'm looking forward to the discussions. I know I don't have much longer on the board, but I'm looking forward to see what y'all are going to do with it. I really am.
No, I appreciate that. I know some of the different ideas that we've heard, that I've heard talking to different ones, and different ones from the community. They've asked us to consider things like senior centers, Boys and Girls Club space to be able to meet there. There's been questions about, like we mentioned, restoring the history, having some kind of a museum type area in one of the classrooms to not just Buckland, but the history of all of the schools in the county with the various things, Cooper, Central Middle School, different schools that have significance, meaning and meaningful attachments to history there. And then, you know, Jim's has been at the forefront of conversations. We're gonna have a walkthrough just to make sure that space is amenable to them and that it would work for what they need. So we are, again, at the very beginning of conversations now with this. There are lots of ideas on the table. I think we all have different things we're passionate about, like we all agree with the assessment. I'm sure more of those ideas will come out as we continue discussion. The school board has ideas of their own coming in. And again, citizens, a lot of the ideas have come from conversations that we've had with those out in the community. So if that is all we have by way of conversation on that, we can move along to the next agenda item, but I don't want to cut anyone off if you had anything else. Nope, okay. All right, so moving down to new business, we have 2 budget amendments referenced in the agenda packet, and I'm going to ask County Manager Sauer if he can present those for the board and for the public.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first budget amendment is F26041 in the amount of $7,697, which reflects insurance proceeds for the GITS program, one of their vans, and the money will be appropriated for repair of that particular vehicle that was damaged. Item next is F26042. It's a $200 increase related to 4-H camp fees, and you'll see the $200 in for the camp cost. And those are the only two this evening.
All right.
Motion to approve.
I was going to say, do we have a motion to approve, or do we need discussions? Do we have a motion to approve, but I'm assuming both? I'm going to ask, okay.
Second.
All right, if there's no discussion, all in favor? All right, those are approved and unanimous. So we will move along to the next item, which is the appointment of a voting delegate for the NCACC Annual Conference. I'm going to kick that off and just say, last year y'all had said that myself as chair you wanted to be it. This year I am actually in the running for the second vice president of the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, so it would not be appropriate for me to serve as a delegate. So we will open that up for discussion on who will be attending first. If there's anyone not attending, obviously you are out of the running here, but then we'll put it up for that. I'm going to just say, since last year it was so heavy on putting me in as chair, that it makes sense to go down to vice chair and step down, but I'm going to let that
Are
be
you planning on
open.
going?
Now, I'm planning on going, so if this, with the board.
I had thought to
wants
go, if the two of y'all are going, I'm not going.
I'm most likely not going to be able to attend this year, so.
I don't know, are you attending? You're attending. I was like, I think we three are attending.
You want, for public use, where is the meeting, when?
It's in Durham County on August, the actual conference is August 20th through 22nd. It is one of the times per year where we are invited out of town. It will, quorum kind of thing with that, but it's an annual conference updating you on things with legislation and state. It's not an out-of-town meeting for us to have, so it's primarily just educational as we're going. So yeah, I will.
When again?
It is August 20th through 22nd. Like I said, it's in Durham County, and I can't remember exactly.
All right, I'll make a motion, since you're going, Commissioner Berryman be our delegate.
I second.
All right, all in favor?
You can't go vote for yourself? You don't want to go? You don't want to go?
He raised
Okay.
his left hand.
All right, and then so that was all for that item. We will now, and that has to be a formal vote because she has to submit that to the association so that they can get the proper paperwork out. Moving down to the clerk to the board report and updates.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, the tax report did not make it into your packet, so I have put that at your seat and just wanted to make a note of that. The first thing I have is an application for reappointment from Laura Dickerson. That is going to be for the library board. That application is in your agenda packet, and I would just need to know what the pleasure of the board will be.
All right, so we have Laura Dickerson for reappointment to the library board. Do we have any discussion needed, or do we have a motion to approve her for reappointment?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Okay.
All right, so with that appointment, number of vacancies, I've got Trillium Health Resources, I have one vacancy, Nursing Home Advisory Committee, 6, Planning Board, 1, Recreational Advisory Board, 4, Library Board, we have 1 opening now, and Opioid Prevention and Intervention Committee, we still have 3 vacancies. The next item listed on the memo in your agenda packet is going to be the Voluntary Agricultural District Program reactivation update. Tonight, I am requesting that the board adopt the rules of procedure for the newly reactivated Agriculture Advisory Board. We are still waiting on guidance from the state regarding the Enhanced Voluntary Agriculture District, or the EVAD language that needs to be incorporated into the ordinance before we can move forward with that ordinance revision. And to help with that process, Rodney Woolard, he is a field specialist for the Northeast region with the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services Farmland Preservation Division. He is actually attending a special called meeting for the Voluntary Agriculture District Advisory Board tomorrow. That is going to be held over at the Extension Office at 6 p.m., I believe, and he's going to provide information on the proposed updates and be available to answer any questions for the board. So at this time, I'm just asking for a motion to adopt the rules of procedure for the Agriculture Advisory Board.
Okay.
So moved.
So second.
Any discussion?
Only one I had was, you talked about here, the Extension Office, Soil and Water Conservation, County Planning Department staff may be members. Does that mean it's up to them if they want to participate or not? Or
Well-
that board votes to whether or not to let them be on the,
So, Ms. Cherry, she will actually, when everything gets going, she will have to submit plans to the state. We are still in the very early stages of trying to figure out who all is going to be doing what. But she will actually submit, I guess it's parcel maps to the state. So
Yeah, I think primarily staff will be a resource
so
to
yeah,
this
that.
board. They wouldn't be voting members.
It was-
Correct.
Yeah, it says non-voting, but my point only was, it just said may. I was trying to just understand whether it was, y'all will be there to support them as needed?
Yes.
Or does the board have to like vote to let you participate
No.
or something silly?
No.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Sorry, just one.
You're good. So we
Good
have
question.
the motion on the floor. Are there any further discussion or questions for clarification? And if not, we'll call to vote. All in favor? All right, that is unanimous. Thank you.
All right, next update I have is the update on the community survey. So using the data collected through the 2026 Strategic Planning Committee survey, there was an analysis done of the survey results, and that has been presented to the strategic planning team as well as to you all in your agenda packet for review. And just due to summer schedules and other scheduling considerations, the team will not meet again until September, and at that time, members of the Board of Commissioners will be invited to participate in those meetings as we continue the process of the Gates County Strategic Plan.
And just for verification, things like this will be put out publicly on?
Yes,
Okay.
that, I wanted to present it here first, and then
Right.
I will.
So all of that information that notice came out from the strategic plan survey will be
Yes.
accessible online?
Yes.
Okay.
The other update I have is the A250 lecture series. Next month, it will be August 13th at 6 p.m., and the grandchildren of Thad Yor will present a special program highlighting their grandfather's life and legacy. It will be held here, and I'm sure the Historical Society will open the museum back there for that special event. So August 13th, 6 p.m. And then I have two more action items. The Albemarle Resource Conservation and Development Council. At a recent work session, there was discussion about appointing Madam Chair to serve as Gates County's representative, and for me to send a letter to that group. I just need a formal motion to appoint her as the
You
representative for
say
Gates
they
County.
requested her?
No, there was discussion at a work session.
Okay.
Yes.
He's like, negative. If they requested her, we want to know why. We are not good with that. No, it's just I had said during a work session that I would be open to doing serving that,
I
yeah.
vaguely recall, I think.
Okay.
Okay.
So moved.
So second.
Okay.
If no discussion, I guess all in favor? Okay.
All right, last thing. This is not in my memorandum, but at the last meeting, June 17th, the board received an offer on county surplus for real property parcel number 0100056 in the amount of $3,500. The board made a counteroffer of $4,493.76, which the prospective buyer accepted that counteroffer. So pursuant to the statutes, the sale of county-owned property by the upset bid process, we had the notice of offer was published in the paper, and the required upset bid period was opened. No upset bids were received. So now the board may consider accepting the offer and authorize the completion of the sale. And I do have a recommended board action to approve, a motion to approve the sale of the surplus property identified as parcel number 01-00056 to Jamie Stedman for for $4,493.76 following completion of the upset bid process with no qualifying upset bids received, and authorize the board chair to execute the deed and any other documents necessary to complete the transaction, subject to review and approval by the county attorney.
Whoever makes the motion, you got to say all that.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. Okay, any discussion on that? Points of clarification? If not, we'll call to vote. All in favor? All right, that is unanimous.
And that is it. Thank you all.
Thank you. All right. Okay. All right, so we are moving down into the county manager report and updates.
Thank you. Last month, I came with a list of 9. It's a little longer, and it grew today. Item first, I had a telephone conversation a week or so ago with Rhonda Morris. Some of you may recall, she made a presentation on behalf of Kids First. Back in February or March, the board approved at that time an allocation of funds. I think it was $5,000 for an immediate need. But come budget time, the county received no request, no formal written request. And she called the other day to ask where her money was, which was a legitimate question. I had to go back and check my notes and check my list, and sure enough, William confirmed he didn't think we had any record of a request, and I called Commissioner Forsyth because I knew he had been engaged in the conversation, and I don't know if you had met her prior to the meeting, but I wanted to confirm that he had the same corporate memory. And at this stage, I've got no recommendation other than to say I don't think she'll miss the deadline next year. So I just felt duty-bound to share that.
Can I elaborate?
Please.
Given the county manager credit, I had tried to call him and ask him, why are you not submitting something? We haven't seen anything. And then even as recently as 3 or 4 weeks ago, I had called and said, never saw anything from you. We can't fund something if you don't tell us an amount. So I left messages. The lady's very busy. I think partly because she's doing good things, so I don't want to throw her under the bus. But unfortunately, this isn't something that we can do. They have to give us a number. And I suspect the county manager's made that clear to them now. So
Yeah.
We had a very nice conversation. She understood, and we'll proceed toward next year. Item next is a little bit bigger number, and one that I'm going to ask you to entertain this evening. I had sent out an email late this afternoon because the county received word via a phone call from Madam Chair that she had had some conversation that involved Mr. Johnny Green. I'm glad you're in the room. As they are moving toward their transition at Gatesville Elementary, they've got a number of classroom areas, I think it's 4, that don't have air conditioning. They'd like to take steps to try to correct that. There was a figure shared of around 170, 180,000. I'm suggesting that if the board take action, that you maybe elevate that to 200,000 using your school capital reserve, but with the intention and the strategy that we will work with the schools to apply for some of the remaining needs-based public school grant funding that's available from the renovation project. It was in the, I think the winter of '23, the board approved a project ordinance, one for Gatesville Elementary, one for Gates High School, and the one for Gatesville Elementary was $1.78 million. There's about just under $500,000 remaining, and I had a nice conversation with Mr. Green, and they would like the board's support so that if you would entertain this, the board would move money from the capital reserve to the project ordinance so that we can support the cost of this construction work, is the way we've labeled it.
Right.
And we did make a call to Dennis Hilton. He is the reviewing engineer and point of contact for all the school systems at the Department of Public Instruction, and he's very much aware of what we're doing and what we were going to discuss this evening. So I don't know if any of the school representatives want to speak. I think it's pretty cut and dry because it's helping to make sure they've got air conditioning in those classrooms to save Mr. Green a lot of, phone calls and headaches late at night, so.
And I just want to go out and say, like, we typically try to make sure these are on the agenda prior to. It came up, there was new information that had just come up and the opportunity to expedite this to be sure that it is in place before the beginning of school, which is why we have not delayed it to next month and are moving forward with adding it to the agenda, even though it was just discussed today. Because again, we do try to remain transparent and not pop things up last minute like this, but it was important for us to act on this as quickly as possible for the schools.
Madam Chair, if I may, this is exactly what we've asked them to do. They come up with have an issue, bring it to us, because if they had to spend their budgeted money on this, it's going to blow their budget out of the water.
Right.
And that's not what we want to happen. We want them to stay on budget.
Right.
If they have issues with capital funds, which this would fall right under the capital funds,
Right.
then that's what we're here for. So we're going to help them not sink their budget this year,
Right.
pretty much. So,
Well, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think, too, the way I understand what I heard is that we're going to give them this money. We're hoping and feel strong that there's money left over in that previous grant.
Yep.
And we just got to get it approved to repay ourselves back.
Right.
So even if they didn't, it's a good thing to do, like you're pointing out. But it seems like it's a minimal
It
risk
should
anyway.
flush out,
So,
yeah.
I totally support it, too. Good on y'all for coming and asking right away. Appreciate it.
So do we have any further discussion or a motion to, thank you, sir.
I'm making all the motions tonight.
Yeah, you can.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? No. Yep. Oh, I thought you were going, all right, all in favor? We are unanimous, thank
I didn't
you.
catch who was the second.
Commissioner Roundtree.
Roundtree.
Yep. Okay,
Thank you.
yes, sir.
I have a couple of remaining Buckland property items. At the last meeting, I had mentioned North Carolina State University contacted us about the fact they have a weather station that's been there for many, many years, and they would like to have it remain on the campus and not miss the continued use reporting and historical data collection. And the board had tasked me with, first of all, finding where it was, and I got to see it first on the computer, and then anybody that was on the tour the other day saw that it's situated on the northern end above the playground area. Presently, it is supported by electricity from the school that the county is now paying for, and the climatologist gentleman indicated that if that electricity needs to be discontinued, they would work toward a solar transition to support it. But they would like something on record stating that they would be able to maintain that weather station.
All right.
Can we get a motion on
Can
that?
we, I was gonna say, do we need
I was
do
waiting
we have a
for-
motion for,
Y'all make a motion.
So moved.
oh, Commissioner Roundtree?
had a discussion. I'm just curious, they want to maintain the electricity. Are they in collaboration with the cost, or is it, that's just something that we just give them?
Are they in collaboration?
They reimbursing me.
No, they're not. It's really a partnership between the county and NC State University, and it really supports the National Weather Service. And I think I had sent out an email earlier this week that has a link for it, and I'm hoping we'll put that link on our website so anybody can go to that, click on it, and it's got the tagline, a long internet code, but at the end it's Buck for Buckland. So we've got a little bit of identity with this system. So I don't think the electrical demand would be very much at all.
You know, I'm betting that what it is if they're trying to budget for this thing and they suddenly have to buy or pay for a whole new facility, suddenly they just want to know that. I don't think we can give them a guarantee that forevermore, God bless your soul, we're going to let you keep it there. But I don't think it's unreasonable for us to give them some kind of assurances that we see no reason anytime in the next year or two why we'd have any reason to change it. And we'd be, pledged to try and give them any advance notice if that were to happen.
Yeah.
I think that's what we can really tell them.
Yeah, I would like to see, if we got to draft a formal document for them, is that, we plan on letting you have it there, and we're not going to change it. And if something was to ever come up where we can't have it there, we're going to give you X amount of time notice.
Yeah.
And it's not a lease, it would just be a
Yeah.
letter of support for continued use, and that both parties agree, if anything has to change, there would be adequate notice, and
Yep, that's right.
Okay. So we get a motion.
So moved.
So second.
All right, any further discussion? If not, all in favor? All right.
And lastly, and this is really for the benefit of the public, the board's aware that the county received a media request related to the Buckland property and the status of a claim about a potential dispute of ownership. And with the board's blessing, I responded to that media request to clarify and affirm that the county attorney had done an extensive title search. The county has had clear title for nearly 75 years. There is no reverter clause in any of the documentation that had been shared with the county, and there is a statute in North Carolina whereby if a property owner has clear, undisputed title for a period of 30 years with no claim, any future claims are extinguished, I think was the word. And I hope that will put it to rest. But I didn't know if any of you would want to comment, but since I shared it with the county ledger publisher, it's going to be out there. I don't know if it is, but I didn't want anybody to be surprised about that.
Just stating facts.
There we go.
Item next, data centers. We've got a long list of activities that Lisa Cherry and her team are addressing, and I want to make sure everybody's aware we haven't forgotten that, and they certainly haven't forgotten that. And the planning board has already started reviewing ordinance provisions and some model ordinances. They've got a community input public forum already on the books. It's in August, I believe. And
That's the plan, in August before school starts is the plan.
So we don't have a date exactly yet? Okay.
That's in it.
Okay.
Miss Lisa, just,
Our meeting is next week, so.
Okay.
whenever you start the meeting, just start it off and say, there is no data center coming to Gates County.
We,
That's the first thing you need to say.
on the billboard out front.
and speaking of which, for anyone that may have read through the survey responses on the community strategic plan input,
Yeah.
people were very thoughtful in
Yes.
their, it wasn't just checking yes or no or
Yeah.
rating from 1 to 5.
Yeah.
Folks really
Good
gave
feedback.
their
It was really good
thoughts. So,
feedback, yeah.
I think those are voices that have now been memorialized
Yeah.
in the county record.
I think everybody's seen the advertising campaign now that these data centers, these corporations are putting in place. They're spending some big media dollars now to try and win public opinion over on these things. You're seeing those a lot more.
There's a
so-
big fight nationally, yeah.
So again, we are on track to be able to bring some recommendations to the board this fall.
Okay.
We are certainly aware that we had a 12-month window into December, which is not a hard and fast deadline. If the board wanted to extend that, you could, or you could take action prior to, but they are on it. Item next, solar farms. We are getting lots of inquiries from folks around the country asking about solar farm zoning, solar farm regulations, asking about any discussions that the planning board in times past or the Board of Commissioners may have discussed solar farms, and they're requesting copies of certified minutes. And I dare say there's a real corporate approach to this with probably a little bit of method behind their madness, so that if there were to be action taken in the near future that's not consistent with any discussion or prior action, that we're going to have to talk about that. But these calls are coming in. There is property on record with the owner that used to be Union Camp historically, and then I believe was International Paper, and now they're under a name of
GC.
Bavarian Timber, but they've also got some affiliates that are incorporated in Delaware, and with their property, they are putting certain documents on record at the Registry of Deeds that speak to the leasing of property, and the language is such that it definitely incorporates solar farms, but it also mentions, and that covers the solar power generation, but also the sale and storage of energy. And that storage could be significant battery capacity for any number of purposes. And the property ownership, I asked Lisa to help identify the potential coverage area for this. It's 3,440 acres. And if you're looking at a map of the county, it's kind of in the center, middle swamp, up that way. I mean, and it's,
Black Mingle area.
yeah, Black Mingle. There's a lot of activity, and I think your planning board will be looking at that too, but,
As it relates to solar farms, that is a special use permit if they ever try to do something, right?
I believe that is correct.
Yes.
Yeah, so they would have to go to the Board of Advisors to get approval to do anything like that.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think our zoning laws have been set for many years
I
that
think
way.
we're set, but folks are making preparations maybe to test us, so.
Welcome aboard, Mr. Wood.
And there's been property. Item next, I've been coordinating with Mr. Vice Chair. We have a Merchants Commerce Committee meeting next week, I think a week from tonight.
Yes, sir.
We'll be meeting at the Planning and Zoning and Economic Development Office, and we'll be rolling from there. Next up, public utilities. Well 2A. We are in the testing phase. We've got a 60 horsepower test pump that we had to shut down this afternoon because we were getting irregular voltage through the three-phase power brought in by Dominion Energy. And when we contacted them for a bit of assistance, they explained that because the variation was not greater than 10%, they wouldn't come out to check it. We've become acquainted with a representative from Dominion Power who had promised me that if we ever had an issue with anything, we could call. So we called this afternoon and made direct contact. And if you want to hear the technical side, I believe we're supposed to have consistently 277 volts, and we've got 3 legs, and there's quite a bit of variation there. So we've got to have that addressed, and we hope to have somebody on scene this week. So
I know the Franklin area's been having those same issues, and what I'm understanding is it has something to do with the solar panels coming off and on the grid. So,
and again, we're not having this issue with any of our other 2 wells. It's just while we're doing this testing, we've had this disruption. So
and this causing single phasing and everything can mess our equipment up tremendously. Electric motors that run the wells and the pumps. So it can cause detrimental problems.
Just a heads up. The 4 water line projects, the Highway 158, the Gatesville transmission to Ashton Lewis, the directional bores for Carter's Road and Bennett's Creek. We met with TA11 last week. All documents are signed. They've got a notice to proceed starting August 17th. They've got 300 days to complete. sounds like they may be bringing in 2 crews. They're ready to move, and I'm hopeful it'll be less than 300 days that they'll be able to finish that work. But we'll be seeing some activity. They had asked about a laydown yard, and we initially talked to them about 2, possibly using part of Merchants Commerce Center and another location at DSS, the field next to the building. We had talked about putting it back toward the rear. In follow-up conversation, they may be putting most of their pipe down just in the right-of-way and have it laid out and move along so that they don't have to move it too many times. But they are really planning and prepping and going to be ready to
Yeah, if they can go
move
through,
ahead.
take some of the cut down that's grown up there at the Merchants Commerce Center and clear cut it for us. They can use all that they want.
Yeah, that's exciting to hear. Ready to see some movement.
We are continuing our work on site evaluations for the 2 new wells and moving toward land acquisition. I don't have any recommendations this evening, but we are hopefully making progress. The project for the refurbishment of the wastewater treatment plant at Honey Pot Road. We submitted the application October 25. Review started February of 26. The permit was issued May 13th, and the permit was received July 13th, Monday. So we were not quite ready to go to bid, but we're real close. Best news of all, I think Madam Chair distributed this last week. Gates County received 3 of the direct project grants from the General Assembly, thanks to the work of Representative Bill Ward, Senator Bobby Hanig, certainly support from Bob Steinberg's office. There are 2 grants for the water system, and actually water and wastewater is the way it's labeled, $325,000. The other one is tied to our work with the well development, the fluoride examination, and they really took off one of the words I borrowed from Dr. Spruill, and I'll twist my tongue on this, but hydrostatic graphic study. You want to try pronouncing that?
Yeah, hydrostatic graphic study.
Okay.
That's right.
Well, now, that's worth $250,000. And then there is a $200,000 grant for replacement of a boardwalk. And Madam Chair and I have been having discussions. I took a field trip today and walked the boardwalk that's here in Gatesville, down at the Bennett's Creek canoe launch and picnic shelter. And they have a boardwalk that goes deep into the cypress trees, but it's in pretty rough shape. They've done some repair.
Concerning safety and liability
But
wise.
there's one section of it that's like a skateboard jump. It has, I guess with flooding, instead of being level with the floor, it's at a peak higher than the back of your shoulder. And it would be really tough for somebody pushing a stroller or anybody that's not really steady on their feet. So that was not an item that the county requested, but as with all of these grants, they come with a county label. A couple of years ago, the schools received money for their naval group. They received money for some science equipment, and all that came down with a label of Gates County, but the checks went to them, and I envision the $200,000 will go to the town of Gatesville.
Yeah, that was an exciting call. I just want to point out too, like, we weren't expecting actually anything in this short session. We were told that there was limited funding, and I know with Representative Ward, he was only granted $1 million for 4 counties. And so we walked away with more than any other county in our district between Representative Ward and Senator Hanig. So we have a lot to be grateful for. They are paying attention to Gates County, and I think that's worth mentioning. Yeah, we're really excited.
Are we planning on writing a letter to our 2 representatives, just thanking them for their hard work and representing
We
the
can
county?
certainly put that together for you. And we probably ought to have it set up where all 5 of you sign it.
Yes, absolutely.
And we also have legislative appreciation days on the table in August, so we can acknowledge that then too.
That's all I have.
All right. So we will move into commissioner comments. I'm going to, you waited till last earlier. We'll start with you this time.
All right, two quick updates. We'll be attending the 911 Center
Yes.
in Perquimans Gates 911 Center ribbon cutting ceremony Monday. So looking forward to that. And then I also have the 911 Advisory Board meeting next Thursday that I'm planning on attending. Other than that, thank you all for coming out tonight. Want to say thanks, Scott, for reaching out, County Manager Sauer, reaching out to us about sharing those facts. That's something sometimes I don't think we really think about it when we have questions from the ledgers or the newspapers. We run it through legal and everything, and sharing the facts with the constituents on what's at hand. And thank you for reaching out to us about that. And thank you to all the board members, willing to share the facts, because sometimes that's what we lack, sharing all the facts. So thank you all for doing that. So that's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, exactly. As far as being transparent, this is what we're working on. We all jumped right in there and got some good responses back to Mr. Sauer, and so yeah, that is a good thing. Just kind of looking forward to my meeting with the Merchants Mill Pond Committee, and we've been a long time now, and we really didn't have anything to talk about, but now we got some stuff moving on that. So we've since our last meeting, we've as a board have moved forward with a design firm. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about some other opportunities that may or may not have, and then also too, what else we can do with that property over there to be able to take that and use it for the benefit of the county, and what are other things that we can do there. So we got some other good thoughts. We got some good thoughts that we want to engage the school board with, and I'm looking forward to those meetings coming up and getting some good direction and everybody being on the same plane with that. So that's good stuff that we're working on for Gates County.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Roundtree?
Yes, I want to thank everyone also for coming out tonight. It's always good to see our constituents, citizens engaged in local government. This is my Trillium Health Service update. Effective October the 1st, all behavioral health, physical health, and long-term services and supports claims for Trillium Teleplan members must be submitted to Trillium through their portal. And this is basically the claims system clarification. So that's going to take effect in October. And once again, North Carolina Energy Savers, although it's not going to be at Community Center like it was on May the 12th, they will be at Roanoke Chowan Community College on July the 28th. And North Carolina Energy Savers, in conjunction with North Carolina DEQ, has provided funding in the area of energy for those who apply. There will be North Carolina Energy staffing to assist constituents in the application process. 3 requirements, basically. Basically, you must have proof of household income. You must also have 12 months of your utility bills. And finally, third, you are required to bring, you're required to bring, oh yes, you are required to bring ownership of your home or your rental arrangement. So those 3 items you need to bring on that day. And what North Carolina Energy Savers, what they do is this: once you bring the required things that I just mentioned, you can possibility have up to $16,000 if you qualify for energy assistance energy assistance for your home and up to $14,000 for energy assistance for appliances in your home. So it's going to be at the Roanoke Chowan Community College. The address is 109 Community College Road, Ahoskie, North Carolina, 27910. And like I mentioned before, they did come to the community center on May 12th. That was a success. But now they're also coming to our community college. So if anyone didn't take advantage of this process here in Gates County, they're always welcome to go to our community college and take advantage of that. That concludes my updates for tonight. Thank you.
Right, thank you.
First off, talking about Albemarle Commission, last month, we have our meeting, and then tomorrow night I'll have an Albemarle Board of Delegates Commission meeting. And last month we had just approved our budget and our tax rate, and so we all had discussion about what everybody's doing. Just as a heads up for public, I guess, benefit understanding, Hyde, Terrell, and Gates, the 3 counties out of the 10, we all held steady at 0. We had Pasquotank actually increased their tax rate by 5 cents. Camden went up by 2 cents. Perquimans went up by 3 cents. Currituck actually cut their rate by 2 cents. There was a whole discussion about increasing their property values and how that helped them a whole lot. And then, in case y'all didn't, the public may not know, but there was a big thing at the state level about a revaluation. So Chowan was in real turmoil with them trying to establish their tax rate, whether it was going to be based on the new valuations or the old valuations. But at the time, they were considering it was going to be as much as a 3% add or potentially a 4% add in tax rate if they didn't use the revaluation. So I feel pretty good that Gates County is one of 3, and we're all 3 small counties that held our tax rate even. I think that's worth sharing.
Yeah.
Additionally, also, Ryan Albertson, who's the community development person for the Albemarle Commission, he manages several of their housing assistance programs, similar to what Commissioner Roundtree talked about. And I talked to him again. He's reiterated again that there's a place on their Albemarle Commission's website where you can go in and immediately apply for assistance if you had it. It was brought to me by somebody in the community that said, hey, there's a family here that's in dire need. They accidentally had a hole break in the wall to discover it's loaded with black mold and health concerns, et cetera, and an individual in the family, one of the breadwinners, is unemployed. Talking to Ryan, he said, a lot of times that's more than enough. You don't have to show your income tax statement from the previous year. If you can show that you're getting unemployment or something, they're willing to say, yeah, you're no longer getting, salary, so that can play into you being qualified. There are qualification requirements, but for people who are in desperate need, encourage you strongly. Ryan said you can call him directly. If you call the Albemarle Commission, look up the webpage, call the number, you can find him pretty quickly, or just go straight online and apply. And also our folks at our social services office are very well aware of it as well, that you can reach out if you need something or somebody that's potentially in need. They're very, very concerned about making sure that, we're taking advantage of it. The 26-27 program for this single essential family repairs program that does like $15,000 to $20,000. Last year was the first part of the year. We only had 3 applicants from Gates County. One person I know got some significant help, was very appreciative of that, but he's saying, Dave, we still got $300,000 in that pot of money, lots and lots of money to help people. They just need to apply, and we need to get the word out. So there's lots to be had there. And then the last time I wanted to add is, there's actually the North Carolina Department of Justice is coming up. They're going to have a fraud prevention seminar. It's going to be held at the Upper Room Assembly here in Gates County, Gatesville. It's on July 23rd at 11 a.m. in the morning. I think that's a Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. So if you're working, you may or may not be able to go. But again, it's at the Upper Room Assembly, July 23rd, 11 a.m. And the North Carolina Department of Justice has a guest speaker coming to kind of explain how to help yourself with, preventing fraud. And I guess people are all trying to take our money these days. So that's all I have for this point.
All right, thank you, sir. So I'll go in. For one, I was really excited about integrated family services earlier, and to hear that the mobile crisis response time for Gates County has improved so greatly in the past few years and with conjunction to them. So that was exciting for me. And the North Carolina budget, I was going to say passing, and that allocation from the county. So I'm glad those things were covered. Just want to mention over the past month and then some things going forward. Several weeks back, I had the opportunity to visit Greensboro to the former Wayne County Correctional Prison tour. I was just invited in because of the conversations we've had in Gates County, and as far as recidivism reduction. And that's going to be a recidivism reduction campus that will serve Eastern North Carolina. It was phenomenal to see the plan. It is 501c3. It's kind of privatized is where their funding's coming from. Love seeing that direction go because, again, they're not asking for the funding from counties and states right now. They're receiving a lot of funding privately. So that is at the beginning of it. Mr. Kerwin Pittman was the one that had organized that. He's formerly incarcerated, and so he had a heart for it, began his vision while still incarcerated, and then has been able to move forward through this opportunity. And following that, had the chance to have an impromptu lunch with Dr. Angie Jenkins from My Future NC. That was just nice to catch up on Gates County. And again, talking about moving Gates County forward, different options that we have as far as COA and partnership and things like that to help our citizens here. We have begun some conversations with trying to get a representative from Ms. Mitchell with the Boys and Girls Club. We've had conversations over the past probably close to a year is when they started. So she will hopefully be on the agenda in August. We have Boys and Girls Clubs operating in counties all around us. I do know that we have citizens from Gates County that are carrying their kids to other counties to participate in Boys and Girls Club. So possibly the opportunity to move forward with that is exciting, in my opinion, to be able to bring that into Gates County. It's not something that they have to have a building for. They said, they can operate in a school after hours, they can operate in churches, they can operate in places that are willing to lend facilities for the program. So I'm excited to hear from her next month and see what she's going to bring to the table as far as conversation and what the needs would be to move forward with that. A week or so, we had some water lines break in Gatesville, and I gotta say how significantly fast that problem was solved. I called Mr. Sauer to say, hey, if we don't have facilities, do we need to send staff home? Because I was concerned that we had, all of our county employees up here with no bathrooms. And while I was on the phone with him, which was not long after our water went out, he's like, everything here works. And I checked, and everything was working. So that magical call to the county manager was very timely, but just kudos to Brad and his team for getting that back online so quickly. It was definitely appreciated. Today, I have been running around all over the place. I had the opportunity this morning to go to Northeast North Carolina Preparedness Forum, and it was held at the Albemarle Commission in Hertford, hosted by SBP, which is St. Bernard Parish, I believe is the name. It stemmed out of Hurricane Katrina 20 plus years ago, and they just go around talking about resilience and making your county resilient. So I was excited to hear all of the tips that they had going forward, and I have to put forth that with our emergency management director that we have a lot of these things in place, that we've moved forward with getting these plans in place and having a direction should disaster hit. Like we mentioned, as far as the last federally declared disaster in North Carolina was Hurricane Matthew, or in this corner of North Carolina was Hurricane Matthew, which was in 2016. So it's been a decade, which is, we've all been knocking on wood all day saying that's a long period to go with nothing. Before that we had Isabel, Irene, Fran, things like that. So there was a lot of conversation around those. And just want to put out, talking with them today, 211, and this was a conversation that came with United Way, 211 NC or NC 211, something with that, where if someone is having issues identifying resources in regard to mental health or many other areas of things where you just need a connection to care or different things, 211 is a resource that you can call, and they keep a pretty up-to-date list on programs, and I had not utilized that before. That is something that in the event of an emergency, the governor can actually activate and use for whatever purpose he needs it for the state. Thought that was interesting to learn. So just putting that resource out there. And then following that, I had to leave a little early to attend a rural listening roundtable with Secretary Gabriel Esparza and Director Stacy Meyer from Governor Stein's office. They had 12 of us at the roundtable. We had the opportunity to discuss about the concerns in rural North Carolina. Some of the things that I specifically had brought up were Gates County being a resource desert, how upon entering the board I was told that Northeast is the forgotten Northeast when it comes to Raleigh, and that Gates County is probably the forgotten corner of the forgotten Northeast because we are so small and so resource dry in that. So we mentioned the need for infrastructure, how we have regional collaborations happening, how we'd love to host some of these collaborations that we have happening regionally, but we need help with resources as far as moving forward. Just kind of educated them on various things, but it was exciting to say that we were fully staffed in DSS and we were fully staffed with our sheriff's office. That's something that those in the region can't say, but that also goes to attest to people here need jobs, and if you need a job, those are the jobs that we have available, so they are filled. But hopefully something will come of that. We were stop 9 out of stop 11. They're supposed to be taking the information back and meeting with different teams in the governor's office and moving forward with how to benefit rural North Carolina specifically. And I do feel like they asked some incredible questions, and I'm hopeful that something moves forward from that. Looking forward again in August, we do have the state conference, and so the meeting in August will not be on the third Wednesday. It will be moved to the fourth Wednesday night, August 26th. I'm looking to verify the date. August 26th, we did the same thing last year because our conference will actually be on the same night of our regular meeting. So we will be there. Board of Education and Board of Commissioners will be meeting with DPI in August. That information will be put on the website because of the notice of possible quorum, but it is a meeting in Raleigh, going to Department of Public Instruction just to kind of get this plan started, working together, showing support for each other, and laying out a plan and a request for funding for various things. And then, as was mentioned, we do have the Brook Women's Gates 911 thing Monday night. That is invitation only, so it's not something that can be, the public can show up to, but I'm sure we will have information to share from that and pictures to share online following that event. So that is all that I have, which is probably more than enough. And we are now going to see if there are any public comments for all other public comments. And following this period, we will be going into closed session. No, okay. So we do not have anyone signed up. If there was anyone here that did want to speak, let me know. No, we're good, okay. All right, so at this time, we're gonna entertain a motion to go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statutes 143, 318, 11A6 to discuss personnel, and North Carolina General Statute 143, 318, 11A3 to consult with the attorney to protect attorney-client privilege. A lot of this is just to bring us up to date as we are coming on board with a new attorney representing us. So we're going to have the opportunity to make sure we're all up to date on all of the same things with personnel and the attorney-client items. So if we will not have any action taken after closed session. So if we can get a motion to come or to go into closed session.
So moved.
So second.
All in favor? I can't see your hand. Was that up? No? Okay. So that is 4. All opposed? Okay. So we are 4-1, and we will be in closed session. And remember, our electronic devices stay out here. All right, if we can get a motion to come out of closed session.
So moved.
So seconded.
All in favor? So we are back in session with all business addressed. Can we get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? We are adjourned.
So was that considered a subsidy?
Oh my gosh.